I'm sitting here with Tammy, who is the Special Events Coordinator for the SPCA.
So we're the Maryland SPCA, and a couple of things that we want to do is provide awareness for homeless animals, but also our shelter. A lot of people think that the Maryland SPCA we're the ASPCA. We're not. The ASPCA, you know what that is. It's sad commercials on TV, Sarah McLachlan. That's a shelter in New York City. We are in Hamden. We're just a small local shelter in Hamden serving the animals of Baltimore and the community. So one of the ways that we want to get awareness out is by having events, getting people from the community to come out and understand who we are. This is also a fundraiser for us. Because we're a private shelter, we don't get funding from the government, so we rely on donations from individuals and fundraisers like this to care for 3,000 animals a year that we adopt out. Close to 9,000, a little over 9,000 that we spay neuter every year. The average amount of money it takes to care for one animal in our shelter is about $300. The average adoption fee is about $100 and some. So you see where we need to make up the difference.
Right,
and that's
yeah.
why we do fundraisers and ask the community to support us and get donations.
This is a pet-friendly event.
Yeah.
So there's like 1 million dogs that are here. It's also an adoption event, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we have all of the dogs walking around. You can tell because they have their adoption vest on. It says "Adopt Me." And I was just saying tonight that all of our dogs did fantastic tonight. Like, I can't believe, I mean, everyone should want to adopt these dogs. They walk around, you know, and did an amazing job tonight with all of the people, the music, and everything. So, we have our adoption van here. Just showcasing a few of the dogs that are available for adoption. Of course, we always tell people to come to our shelter to see, you know, to find that right match. It is a lot about finding the right match for your family in terms of adopting a dog or a cat.
Generally speaking, on any given day, how many dogs are actually available for adoption?
Available at a time, you could see 20 dogs available for adoption. Then, of course, there's other dogs that aren't available yet because they probably just got to the shelter, so we need to do, there's a couple of things that we do before we make them available. A health exam, and then of course they get spayed, neutered, and vaccinated, everything like that. So when you adopt a dog from us, all of that's already done. And also a behavior assessment. That behavior assessment is very important to us. We want to make sure we are putting safe animals into the community, and it also helps us make that right match. So we can say, you know, for me, I'm an active person. I want to go running, I want to go hiking, so I need a dog that can keep up with me. My grandmother, she's not going to need the same dog as me. So these behavior assessments help us make that right match when people come in. And that's what is most important to us, because we want people, when they adopt from us, to be a good experience, but also for that animal to stay in that home.
Do you guys actually have a return rate?
Yeah, we do. We do have returns. And one thing we've started recently is a 1 month and return policy, in that people can get their adoption fee back. And, you know, it was a little, people questioned it at first and were afraid to do this at first. But what we found is, especially when you're talking about adopting cats, there are people who are probably hesitant to adopt because they don't know if it's going to be the right match. And so with this new policy, this enables people then to say, you know what, if it doesn't work, we will take that animal back, we will then find it the right home, and we're going to try to find you that right match. And that's the philosophy and goal behind that, is that there are some people who probably go to shelters and don't adopt because they're a little nervous, you know, that, oh, I'm going to do this adoption, it's final, there's no returns or anything like that, and what if it, you know, I have other pets, what if it doesn't work? So we want to, again, it's all about making that right match.
And I've got a fabulous story here. You guys are going to love this. First of all, let me find out who I'm talking to. Who am I talking to?
I'm Casey, Frank,
Kelly.
and that's Romeo. This is Buck, Rusty, and Wally.
Now, what happened with him now? Now, you say he came from a rescue that doesn't exist anymore, and these things happen. But how did you come into contact with him?
I needed a buddy for my other dog at the time, who's now passed away. But Wally came. Actually, he had a long trip to his shelter, his rescue, which was from Illinois. There was a high kill shelter where they put down a lot of dogs. They would put them in a vacuum box, suck the air out, and suffocate a whole litter at a time.
Oh,
so he was a litter that was just very lucky, and some good Samaritan drove them to the shelter where I found him. That was 11, 12 years ago.
So he's an older dog. He's
He's had a good, happy life.
Came from St. Francis. And, now, what breed of dog are these?
The big one's half St. Bernard, half Chow. The little one is a Nova Scotia duck tolling retriever. He's a puppy mill dog. He's one of those dogs where if you get a perfect puppy, $3,000. So he's wrong color, a little too big, too fluffy, bad teeth, horrible hips, so many congenitals, and horrible story about puppy mills. Rusty, on the other hand, half St. Bernard, half Chow, was one of those dogs that somebody got a fluffy puppy that grew really quickly, and someone immediately abandoned to a rescue, which is horrible.
You're right. The cute little puppy that suddenly turns into a dog, and then they don't want it anymore.
Exactly. Exactly what happened. Rusty's a wonderful dog. He's 11 years old. Great little dog who's been just wonderful family. 3 years after we got Rusty, he was about a year or so old. We got Buck, who is the Nova Scotia duck toller. And again, another sad story where they just gave him up because he had bad teeth, bad hips, couldn't sell them, etc. And we got him.
Downtown Dog Resort and Spa. They've been a fantastic partner of ours. We have events here, so when the weather's not nice, we can have events here. They have playrooms, they have an outdoor play area. The event that we have tonight, we obviously don't want dogs running around outside, so they have a fenced area where dogs can run and play safely. They've been great partners of ours throughout the years.
Now, one of the things that a lot of the interviews I've done recently, we've talked a little bit about some of the weirdness has been going on in Maryland lately and in other states, specifically in the legal opinion that was recently passed in Maryland concerning pit bull type dogs. We've been talking a lot lately with a number of different people, canine officers, a few others, talking about the breed-specific legislation and this legal opinion and kind of what this means. Now, as a result of this legal opinion, I know a lot of people, at least in Maryland, there's been evictions, there's been problems. Have you seen an increase in pit bull type dogs coming into the SPCA?
We have. One of the things that we do, so as the Maryland SPCA, we transport from other shelters. So one of our biggest alliance partners is Barks, the city shelter, and so we are committed to taking as many dogs as we can from them and pit bulls as we can from them. So between our shelter and their shelter, you know, we do see dogs that come in strictly because, you know, they're told they're not allowed to have them anymore. We've participated in all of the focus groups and legislative task force surrounding this issue to basically make our opinion known that we will still continue to adopt out these dogs. We think they are wonderful dogs, great companions, and that everyone should be responsible for their own dog no matter what the breed is.
So, of course, I guess one of the questions is, and a lot of people have wondered this, is that when they've had to surrender a pit bull as a result of this legislation, especially in Maryland, you know, you can't speak for other organizations, but certainly you can speak for your own. And that is when these pit bull type dogs, if they're being turned in by these people, one of the concerns is they're being sent here to die. Now, we can assume that is not the case.
It's very, I'm glad you brought that up. So at the Maryland SPCA, one of our biggest things is that we do not have a time limit at the SPCA. So once a dog goes into our adoption program, they're going to stay up for adoption, you know, unless something goes, you know, drastically deteriorates with their behavior or with their health. But we do not have a time limit, and so and part of our intake process manages that so that we don't take in more animals than we don't have space for. So it's very much, you know, calculations that, you know, that we do, and making sure that we always have, you know, space for our animals. But again, there's not a time limit at the Maryland SPCA. It's something that we work very hard to take care of that. And we do not euthanize healthy animals, and we have not euthanized any healthy animals, and that's our goal every year, and we do not do that. But I can't thank you guys enough for doing this and also coming out to our event tonight, because these, you know, there's so much we do for the animals, but then we get to do fun events like this and just all get together and all around for one cause, and what a fun time.
Absolutely. And hopefully next time we'll be able to bring either Eris the Unstoppable or Porthos the Super Dog. We'll make an appearance at one of these events. So thank you so much for taking time to talk to me.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate it.
It's been great.
Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Which is a pit bull rescue, and they're based out of Reisterstown, Maryland. Yes. Yep. Well, how did you get involved with them?
One of the guys on our softball team, his wife is on the board of directors, and he brought Romeo out to a couple softball games in a vest that said, "Please adopt me," and we took him for a weekend, and that was 4.5 months ago.
So he's staying.
He's staying. Yeah, but
now,
he came for just a weekend.
How old is he?
He's just over a year. He's probably about 16 months now. They're not entirely sure how old he is, but he had been at the rescue for about 6.5, 7 months.
Now, do you know the story about how he came to the rescue?
All I heard is that they found him wandering, and he was there until we got him.
We've talked a lot about BSL. Talked a lot about, you know, pit bulls are quote unquote inherently dangerous and this kind of BS. Obviously.
He has 3 cats at home.
What's that?
He has 3 cats at home.
And he's fine.
He's fine with them. He doesn't even know they exist. They walk by and he's like, "Yeah, okay, there's a cat." Oh, look, there goes another one.
We've talked before about how the quote-unquote pit bull is not a breed, it's a type. So let's talk a little bit about that, as I know you had some thoughts on that particular matter. So let's talk about what a pit bull is or is not.
A pit bull, it's not, like you said, it is not a breed of dog. It is a derivative of the Staffordshire Terrier and another breed that were bred together over and over and over again, and that's what has become the typical pit bull. But it's very hard to distinguish a pit bull from any other dog. I mean, most people look at Romeo and the first thing they think is pit bull, but we are almost certain he has lab in him. If you look at his ears, he has one ear here. That is the typical pit bull ear. It folds over, it flops to the side, so he probably has Staffordshire Terrier in him. And he has one lab ear, which, if you've ever seen a lab, you've seen an ear that looks like that folds straight over. So people look at him and they assume he's a purebred pit bull, which doesn't exist. It's right. Like, you know.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a purebred pit bull.
Yeah, there's no such thing. But they look at him and they're immediately afraid of him, where if a lab came up with 2 of these ears and not one of those ears, they look at him entirely different. But it's, you know, it's hard. It's tough. People look at him and they're so afraid, and it makes me sad. And it's because they just don't know.
Yeah.
If they knew, they wouldn't think that way. And you know what? A Staffordshire Terrier, the American Staffordshire Terrier, is still an AKC recognized breed. It is still a breed recognized. I'm sure on Thanksgiving everybody sits down and watches those dog shows.
Sure.
And they look at that and he's on there, so he must be an okay dog. But then you pass him in the park and he's gonna eat you because he has pit bull in him. It's okay to watch on TV and think how cute he is, but you can't pass him without being afraid of him. All he wants is people to play with him and pay attention to him and love him, and he deserves it. He's a good dog. He's a good boy.
He is a good boy. What do we think of our beautiful group of rescue dogs?
Nothing better than this, because I mean, quite honestly, many of the times when you're breeding for just a specific quality, you're going to breed out the really good parts, which is this. Dogs that love you versus dogs that are just perfectly looking.
How it all works out. I never thought we had so much time. Just learning how to twist and shout. It doesn't matter much which damn beat you. How it all works out. I never thought we had so much time. Just learning how to twist and shout. It doesn't matter much which damn beat you. How it all works out. I never thought we had so much time. Just learning how to twist and shout.
What do we think of our beautiful group of rescue dogs?
Nothing better than this, because I mean, quite honestly, many of the times when you're breeding for just a specific quality, you're going to breed out the really good parts, which is this. Dogs that love you versus dogs that are just perfectly looking.